All right, guys. So once again, we have to do our weekly segment on Kamala Harris embarrassing herself in an interview, right? And you would think that being the vice president of the United States, that she would be a lot more prepared for these interviews and the questions that she's going to be asked. However, I'm kind of not surprised because she is an affirmative action VP. I'm not making that up. Joe Biden said that. He said that he was looking for a black woman, which by definition makes her an affirmative action VP because he's picking people solely based off their race and their sex. But, you know, hey, outside of that, her staff is falling apart. She's having a lot of turmoil going on there. So to a certain extent, I'm not surprised that she is unprepared for these interviews, even though she's vice president, because her vice presidency is essentially a disaster, right? But she got asked a couple questions that I want to go over, that I want to talk about in this recent interview with NBC News. And the first is regards to COVID testing, or the lack of COVID tests. Take a look.
2 years into this, why didn't the administration just go out and secure more at-home tests? After the Delta surge in the fall, why are we at a point now where folks still can't get tests?
But we just ordered, I don't have the number in front of me, but millions of tests. We have 20,000 sites where people can go, and I urge people to, you can Google it or go onto any search engine and find out where free testing and the free testing site is available.
But Madam Vice President, the fact that we're still telling people to Google where you can get a test, and
but come on now. I mean, really, if you want to figure out how to get across town to some restaurant you heard is great, you usually do Google to figure out where it is. So that's simply about giving people, right, a mechanism by which they can locate something that they need, something that can help them.
Do Google, right? Do Google, she says, okay? People can just do Google, right? You would think for somebody who claimed to be hip and with the times, right? She smoked weed back in college while listening to Tupac. You would think that she would be more in touch with the terminology of the 21st century, right? She seems to be as old as Joe Biden sometimes when she speaks, okay? Or maybe she was thinking about, her past life of, I don't know, doing people, right? So maybe that's what came out of her mouth, do Google, whatever, right? Who knows, right? Who knows? But before I talk about my take on the whole testing thing, let's actually listen to a doctor who probably, in my opinion, should run for president in 2024 and his take on testing, because some people found this to be controversial.
So this Omicron situation, people are waiting for tests. What is your indication? What do you think is going to happen in terms of when this is going to level off? And do you think those tests are going to arrive in time to serve that need?
Well, it's quite clear that the tests are not going to arrive in time. But maybe that's not such a bad thing, because, the more tests you have, the more positive people you're going to have. And if you don't have a good plan for what you're going to do with those positive people, it just adds more to the confusion.
Yeah. So again, a lot of people found what Ben Carson said there to be controversial, but I think it makes perfect sense considering that the Biden administration clearly doesn't have a plan for anything when it comes to this virus. And we're going to talk about that more. But, from a certain perspective, it's like, if you don't have any symptoms, if you're not sick, then what is the point of taking a bunch of random tests, right? Because even if you do have it, then you probably don't have a severe form of the virus if you don't have any symptoms. Now, that's not to say don't get a test. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to, that's on you. And you should consult your, medical professional, your doctor, whoever, right, about your specific situation. But what I'm saying is that, paying all this money to keep testing people doesn't really make sense when you consider the fact that the Democrats have fear-mongered some people so much about this virus that even those who don't have symptoms, they're going to go run into the hospital thinking that, hey, even though I don't have symptoms, I need to go, to the emergency room because of this, which in my opinion is going to clog up the medical system, right? The thing that they're complaining about right now, okay, that they're blaming on the unvaccinated, hospitals being full to capacity. Yeah, having a whole bunch of people take this test and then, they test positive, and some of them don't have symptoms, and then those people, go to the hospital or whatever, that contributes to the inefficiency, right? Now, if you got symptoms, Okay, if you got a severe form of it, obviously you need to go see a doctor. You need to go to the hospital, right? You need to go get checked out, obviously. And even if you don't have symptoms, hey, if you still feel like you need to go see a doctor or whatever, you need medical attention, hey, do you, right? Do what you need to do. But maybe, just maybe, tests should be reserved for those people, right? Maybe we should efficiently allocate our resources so that those people get access to the test. If you actually have severe symptoms or severe form of the illness, maybe those are the ones that should have priority. Okay. So again, like Ben Carson is saying here, maybe it's not necessarily such a bad situation for the Biden-Harris administration, considering how, the numbers ain't necessarily looking so good for them. In my opinion, I really don't see the point of testing a whole bunch of people who don't have any symptoms, right? It really doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion. Okay. But here's the thing about this pandemic, guys. This whole pandemic has become a money grab, right? It is a giant money grab at this point. Okay, because all these companies are making money off this, from the companies that are making tests to vaccines to alternative treatments to all types of things, right? They're all making money off of this. Okay, and you can't stop the money train at this point because the taxpayer and the government is paying for it, right? They're paying for it. And that is what's happening here. That's what's happening here. Because even though, again, you see a lot of stuff not really making all that much sense, they're still doing it, right? They're doing it simply because it is a money train. That is what this pandemic has become at this point. It's all about money. But the next part of this interview I want to talk about is when Kamala is actually pressed on the fact that, hey, what the Biden administration is doing isn't actually really working, and whether or not they actually need a change of plans. And Kamala Harris has a brain malfunction. Take a look.
At what point does the administration say, you know what, this strategy isn't working, we're going to change strategies? 6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Kamala Harris. Kamala Shakespeare, right? Kamala Shakespeare, okay? Because I cannot believe that that's the answer she gave to whether or not the Biden administration needs to change strategy on this virus. She literally gave a straight up non-answer composed of a word salad, right? With dog doo-doo on it, right? That's what she did. That's what she did, okay? Because the truth of the matter is they never had a strategy. They never had a plan, okay? The plan was just to wing it, right? The plan was always to blame Trump and to say that he was so bad and so terrible at handling the virus. And when they get in office, they just was hoping that the vaccines was going to solve the problem, right? That's what they were hoping for. Unfortunately, that plan didn't work out, okay? We're still at where we're at. And now they have nothing, right? They have nothing at all. Except, Biden coming out here and advocating for more censorship, right, from social media.
I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows. It has to stop. COVID-19 is one of the most formidable enemies America has ever faced. We've got to work together, not against each other.
Okay, but, here's the thing. Even though they don't have a real plan in terms of what they're going to do, right, to stop the virus, I do believe, and I told you guys this earlier this week, that the narrative on the virus is going to change. I think that is actually the plan, okay? And there has been some confirmation of this that has come out from the AP, as allegedly they're telling their editors, hey, don't emphasize COVID case counts anymore, right? And obviously, the reason why they would do this is to help Joe Biden and Kamala Harris going into the midterms, okay? Because at this point, it's obvious that there's nothing that they can really do about it from a public policy perspective. So if you can't do anything from a public policy perspective, then change the story. That's all you gotta do, just change the narrative, okay? All of a sudden, case counts are not important anymore, right? All of a sudden, what's really important is hospitalizations, right? What's really important is how many of those hospitalizations actually are because people have COVID, or it's just people that happen to go to the hospital with COVID. All of a sudden, death counts. Oh, that death count number, we got to differentiate between people who've died from COVID and died with COVID, right? These are people that die with all these comorbidities. See, there's a reason why the CDC had came out earlier this week with all these new numbers and all these statistics about the virus that people have been asking for years. The reason why is because the narrative is about to change. They're going to start telling people, hey, we don't need to pay attention to the numbers that we used to fearmonger you guys for the last 2 years, especially under Trump. Don't pay attention to that anymore. We're actually going to use some nuance and break the numbers down in a way that they should have been doing the whole time to make it look like, well, the Biden-Harris administration is doing a good job with this virus, right? Look at these numbers right here. This don't look so bad anymore, okay? When you look at the deaths that are actually from COVID, that's kind of what is going to happen, in my opinion. Because that is the only way for the Biden administration to appear as if they have fulfilled their promise of, quote unquote, stopping the virus, is to make the virus now look not as serious as they had tried to make it look before, right? Just change the way that you report the numbers. I think that is probably what's about to happen, right? The AP article just showed you, yeah. It's time to rethink how we report this stuff, right? That strategy we used under Trump to blame every single death in this country on him, even though he didn't have anything to do with it. Oh yeah, maybe that strategy is not good anymore. Maybe we should stop reporting all these high numbers because people are using that against the Biden administration, right? Maybe all this fear mongering is not working out for the Biden administration, right? That's just kind of how it goes, in my opinion. So, hey, Kamala, she don't really need a plan when it comes to what they're going to do, because what's about to happen is, and she probably knows this, that the narrative is about to change, right? So why change the strategy when all you got to do is change the narrative? But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.